Level up your LA Kings experience with Vivid Seats Elite Seats. All the on-ice Kings action with even more exclusive access and rewards. Enjoy great seats to the game in Section 103 along with Yamava Club access and parking included with your purchase. Plus, get a free Team LA Kings shop item at the game. Score your Vivid Seats Elite Seats tickets today and earn perks on each purchase from the only leading ticket company with a rewards program. Experience it live with Vivid Seats, the official partner of the LA Kings. Do you know the LA Kings have their own culinary partner? It's Superfood, celebrating 10 years and over 1 million meals served. Since 2020, the Kings have trusted Superfood to fuel their players. Now through Simply Lunch, you can bring that same performance-driven food to your office. Because when people eat better, they work better. Visit mysuperfood.com. That's mysuperfd.com. Or call 213-973-6145. Qualified companies can enjoy a free lunch for up to 10 managers.
You're listening to All the Kings Men, the official podcast of the LA Kings. Now, here's your host, Jesse Cohen.
Welcome back, Kings fans. This is a brand new episode of All the Kings Men. Joining me today, Zach Dooley. How are you doing today, Zach?
Jesse, I'm honored to be your second choice.
Yeah, I can't say featuring because it's just you and me.
It's just you and me.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be your second choice for this recording.
So ordinarily, this is the top 10 questions. This would be the 3/4 of the season update, and ordinarily I would do it with Jim Fox and John Kelly. But as we said at the end of the last one, there would be so many changes, and we would have to rewrite the questions. In between that statement and today, the Kings acquired Artemi Panarin via a trade, and Kevin Fiala was lost for the season to injury during the Olympics. So we've got 10 brand new questions. We've got you here. We're recording this on Tuesday, February 24th. The trade deadline is a week and a half away. So a lot of these questions are going to directly address that. Yeah. And we won't have, again, the point of this is never to have answers for the questions. It's just to identify the storylines, the questions that need to be answered. So we don't have answers, but obviously the number one question right now facing the Kings is what will they do at the trade deadline? And you and I have talked about this privately. There's 5 games between today and the trade deadline. If the Kings come out of the gates and win 3 or 4 in a row, unquestionably, I think the conversation starts to get louder about adding at the trade line. If they come out of the gate and lose 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, it's theoretically possible that the conversation shifts to the team being a seller. So, I mean, it's a huge question. And as of today, this is a perfect example. We have no answer, but it is really the only thing that needs to be figured out before we address anything else, we being the organization.
No, it's so fair, and that's what the margin for error is, right? We talked about it a few times, heard people talk about it. When the first half or the first 2/3, the first part of the season went the way it did, the Kings have put themselves in a position where you can't just say this team is ready to add for a playoff run because as of today, they are not in a playoff spot. So these first few games, because of the way the schedule is set up, has created like this very narrow runway to where you're right. You go 1-3 or 3-1, it drastically changes your approach going into the deadline. And I don't think either way the Kings are looking at moving, say, their first round pick for anything but a piece that is beyond this year, right?
Yes,
they're not
no
looking
rentals.
That, if a player who makes the team better in the long run becomes available, the first round pick could be in play, not because of what you just said, but because this is a piece that is here potentially to be a center, for example, for the next 5 years. Like that's the kind of piece you might look at if it was available and you say, okay, that's independent of that. But if you're looking at potentially bolstering this year's team only, these games are massively, massively important because the Kings are 3 points out of a playoff spot, but they're also 4 points out of home ice in round 1. Like it is that tight in the Pacific. And Game 1 is Vegas. Game 2 is Edmonton. You're going to learn a lot right away as to, what direction this team's going to go.
This season is almost the perfect glasses half empty, glasses half full,
depending on
personality test.
For
because
sure.
If there was ever a season to stumble out of the gate and not necessarily have it hurt you, this season is it. Because
100%.
It, like you said, 4 points, 3 points out of a playoff spot, 4 points out of second place in the division. The flip side of that is the Kings stumbled out of the gate, and now here we are.
And they really haven't picked up the stride.
No.
It's been
plenty of opportunities.
felt like a 56 game stumble almost, where they haven't fallen over, but they haven't started running.
Yeah. And I mentioned it on the last episode you and I did audio only, which was when Jim Hiller was asked, do these practices that they've been doing all week feel like training camp? He said kind of, but not really, because at training camp, I think the phrase he used was you're starting at 0.
Yep.
Kings are not starting at 0. They're behind because
Yeah.
they know that they're not in a playoff spot. And the
Mhm.
first 2 games scheduled are against Vegas and Edmonton, who are, not directly ahead of them in the standings, but if the Kings get those 4 points that you were talking about, that's Edmonton.
Yeah.
So it's wildly important. And that leads us into our second question, which is how will Artemi Panarin perform? Because it's a shame and unfortunate that the Kings lost Kevin Fiala to that injury. It's the sting of that is slightly dulled by the acquisition of Artemi Panarin, who, and I don't think I'm being too dramatic, I think might be the best wing the franchise has had in at least 30 years.
Maybe since prime Luc Robitaille. I mean, you would know better than me, right?
Yeah, I mean,
the history.
So
but...
Luc Robitaille was an incredible goal scorer, right? I think he had 63 was his career high.
Yeah.
And I think that season he had 123 points, which was the year that Wayne Gretzky was out most of the year with injury. So yes, Luc Robitaille, obviously, listen, I had posters of the guy on my wall as a kid, but Panarin's just a completely different player than him.
100%, yeah.
And I genuinely, I don't want to speak about the 60s or 70s because that's even before my time.
Yeah.
But I genuinely don't think the Kings have ever had a winger who racks up 2 assists per goal at a clip of 90 to 100 points on a regular basis. I can't think of a winger they've had. I just can't think of it.
I used to stream Columbus Blue Jackets games to watch this guy. He was one of my favorite players to watch because of what he does with the puck, how he brings his teammates into the game. It's just so fun to watch the way that he hangs on to it. Everything that the players have said about him is that's what I've observed in watching him. He is a very, very exciting player who it's almost like we're setting ourselves up to fail because of how much we're hyping him up, right? He can't possibly meet these,
Yeah.
but he has the potential is there for this guy to transform the power play and to transform the way the team plays offensively, right? He's just that good.
The knock on this team, obviously, is that they haven't been scoring enough.
30th in goals.
Right. That's obvious. It's not a mystery. And it hasn't been a mystery for, 20-something years now, right?
Right.
The team doesn't score enough. We know.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very short list of offensive players that you could realistically add to a team that is defensively sound and expect that their presence by itself could boost goal scoring. And last year was kind of a perfect example. I wouldn't have thought that Andrei Kuzmenko could fit on that list. And I don't think that he necessarily does all the time, but we saw what happened last year. It worked.
Yeah.
Added him in, team wasn't scoring. Suddenly they start scoring. They look like a completely different team. It's a crazy double-edged sword. And so this is going to kind of lead into our next question, which is how does the Fiala injury impact the team? Because you've sort of lost an offensively motivated player and replaced him with one, and I hope this isn't disrespectful to Kevin Fiala, but Artemi Panarin is just more potent offensively than Kevin Fiala is. So the defensive identity of the team presumably stays intact. They still do what they do. They still should limit chances and limit opportunities for opponents. But now on the power play, for example, you have this incredible weapon that in theory should boost your offense without detracting too much from your defense. Because that's always the danger, right? Is if you add to one column, you remove from another. So
it's just, I wonder, we've seen what the lines have been over this last week. I wonder what they would have looked like with Kevin Fiala, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Panarin and Fiala would have played together, even if he was available. I think that Panarin, Laferriere, Kempe was always what they wanted to do. It's just a question of how would Fiala have fit in? Would they have gone Kuzmenko, Fiala, Turcotte and said, this is an offensive line, and then said, okay, Byfield, Kopitar, Moore, that's your shutdown role that you've mentioned? Is that what they would, or would they have put Fiala with Kopitar and Byfield and said, you guys run, and then we're going to put Moore and Fogle with her? There's so many things they could have done with him in there. Fact of the matter is, he's not there. He's not in until at the earliest somewhere in the postseason, at the latest next season. So we don't know exactly what are we seeing versus what would we have seen? But like it's a blow, right? Like obviously the Kings acquired Panarin to bolster a team with Kevin Fiala, not to replace him. Now they're getting a replacement, which doesn't help, but it sucks for Kevin personally. Like you really feel for a good person who really does care and really wanted to play for Switzerland. He cares about the LA Kings. That certainly sucks. So it does kind of, it's like it stings that we're talking about one at the expense of the other, but also imagine how kind of desolate this thing might be if the Kings hadn't acquired Panarin and then the Fiala injury happened, right?
Well, I mean, the funny thing is obviously the Fiala injury impacts everything. But it also even changes what the Kings would do at the trade deadline.
For sure.
Regardless of which way the first 5 games go, right? Like if things went well and you had Fiala in the lineup, now you have, okay, do we acquire a player to augment his line? Do we get a player to augment the first line? If we do, does that bump a player down and then that augment that second line? Flip side, if they are sellers or if things don't go well, it's just the flip side of the coin of all of those same questions. So, I mean, it's wild.
There's also the cap element, right? Like where the small, and it's small, silver lining is like the highest salaried player that's rumored to be available, so I use him as Elias Pettersson, right? He makes 11.6. The Kings could easily fit that player under their cap without any retention, which if that, say, was the deal, okay, maybe they get him for less because they don't have to, there's no retention involved. They could just acquire that player, and then they have ample room next year to where whoever they get will fit in with Panarin, Kempe, Fiala all under contract. So I guess that's like the silver lining, and it's small.
Yeah,
I think Fiala is better than any player.
Silver linings generally are small. But
but it's a very silver.
So let's then
silver does not shine as brightly as gold,
right?
In this.
So let's then talk about the next question, which is what will the top 9 look like? And I find that every day I come away with a different thought that just hadn't occurred to me the day before. So when we were first watching the practices, and it looked like it was going to be Panarin, Laferriere, and Kempe.
Yeah,
I don't even remember what I thought. I think I thought like, oh, well, why not try Kopitar? But then Jim Hiller explained, Panarin plays his off wing. You want a right shooting center to be able to facilitate passes from the center to Panarin to give Panarin opportunities at goal scoring. We talked to Kempe this morning after practice. He talked about the benefit.
That was pretty insightful too, to what he talked about.
Having the opportunity for 2 different one-timer options
I didn't
on
think
either
of it
side
like
of the
that.
ice.
Yeah.
So that's your top line. Then, my initial instinct on Byfield moving back to wing with Kopitar was the defensive aspect, right? Which we talked to Byfield about, we talked to Hiller about. Yeah. And it seems like that, at least to start,
factors in a bit.
I used the word shutdown line in the media availability, but I've really begun to regret it because I don't think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like it is the line that will match up against the opponent's top line.
Yeah.
But it's not like a Paulson, Niedermeyer,
That's
and
exactly
Moan
what
line,
I was
right?
drawn
like, it's
to.
Not,
that line was out there where if they got 0 goals, you don't care.
It's
like the Kopitar, Byfield, Moore line can't have 0 goals for the Kings, right?
Or to translate that line into Kings talk, it's not Stoll, Lewis, and King,
right?
Like that, but it is the line that will match up against the opponent's top line. But the next thought I had was, if you are committed to Panarin, Laferriere, and Kempe, you still want Byfield and Kopitar to get minutes, and the only way to guarantee that is to play them on the line together,
play them together,
So like that's kind of the most simple explanation for me, but it took me, 48 hours to sort of stumble onto that conclusion. After that, those 2 top lines, and it looks like Trevor Moore will be the other winger on that line. Actually, before we get to the bottom 6, I'll finish the thought on Trevor Moore. My then next thought was, will Trevor Moore, Arvidsson, and Trevor Moore, Danault, and Fogle, whatever the other person, that line was very effective defensively while also generating offense. And with all due respect to Phil Danault and Victor Arvidsson and Phil Danault and Warren Fogle, Anze Kopitar and Quentin Byfield are more offensively dangerous than those previous players mentioned. So in theory, that line could operate like one of those lines, again, matching up against the opponent's top offensive threat while also being able to generate offense on their own.
And Moore has done this, right? As you mentioned, he's played those. He can play more minutes. He's shown more minutes. When the Kings went 11-7, he got more minutes and didn't seem out of place with those whatsoever. And he's also, he's played at times with Kopitar, at times with Byfield, not a ton, but he's the most natural fit if you're going to say that Panarin, Laferriere, Kempe is a line.
Yeah.
He makes the most sense there. I think both defensively, he's trusted, but he scored 30 goals 2 years ago. We know he's got the release and the shot. Like, he brings something to that line that makes him, in my opinion, the most sense in that spot.
The sort of now I am being dramatic. Infuriating part of this conversation is we've talked to Jim Hiller about this.
Yeah.
And he said, don't paint any of this like in permanent ink. Like we're going to try this coming out of the break.
Erasable pen at best. Yeah.
But if they go with this and, they do stumble out of the second gate and things do change, well, A, it's Jim Hiller. So everything's in flux always anyway.
Yeah.
And B, the team doesn't have the luxury of committing to anything, right? Like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And you got to find something that works.
Yes.
Toot sweet. So.
Here's what I've really put into perspective is these aren't the lines you go with if you're looking for what is best for the LA Kings in the long term.
Yes.
This is not what you do.
Right.
This is done specifically to make the playoffs.
Yeah, we need to beat Vegas on Wednesday and Edmonton on Thursday.
This is what this is.
So
every
move
we're
going with
made is through the lens of we need to win the next game and the game after that and the game after that and make the playoffs.
And we'll figure it out when we get to day 5.
Correct.
Yeah.
And if days 1 through 4 don't go well, day 5 is probably going to look different because the Kings are probably, for better or for worse, going to be right around it the rest of the way. They're probably not going to be 10 points in. They're probably not going to be 10 points out. They're going to be right around it.
Yeah.
So every move being made, whether you agree with it or not, is going to be made in that lens.
In this division, nobody's 10 points in it.
Yeah.
A couple of teams are 10 points out. But like Vegas has an 8-point lead over the Kings.
Right.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Which is,
and these two teams play, in one day.
Yeah. And I mean, so the first 2 games are back-to-back, Vegas and Edmonton. I believe the Ducks play Edmonton
the first night.
And of course, both of them are 3 points and 4 points respectively ahead of the Kings. And then I want to say Utah plays Vegas, I think.
The second night?
Yeah. And Colorado's in the mix.
I'm going to guess a lot of teams are playing.
They're all playing. I mean, that's the problem is that the Kings need to acquire points while at the same time other teams need to not acquire. Like the worst case scenario for night 1 is Anaheim-Edmonton 3-point game.
Yeah.
Either way.
Because the Kings are chasing the Ducks, they're chasing the Kraken, they're chasing the Oilers. Like all these teams are in front of them.
We need regulation losses out of our
one way or the other,
foes,
right? Yeah.
The next question sort of ties into the bottom. So we didn't finish answering what will
we never got to the third line,
But we'll then bleed into this next question, which is, will some version of the Hellenius Malott Ward line survive? And again, all of this is we're just talking about Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
So it's a top 10 questions for the next 2 games, which is a little dramatic, but that's where we are. But the easiest thing, just from a salary cap, if you're just looking at the roster, the easiest solution is, okay, Malott and Ward out to make room for everybody else who makes more money than them.
Yep.
But we've seen Malott and Ward fill in and play a role that the team didn't really have prior to that. They appear to be successful at it. And so now the question is, there's also not necessarily a lineup that makes sense without them. Like if we use the top 6 that we've identified, if I'm just going down the list as far as guys that like I think A, have to be in there, or B, I think fans would want or expect.
Mm-hmm.
The third line is some combination of Armia, Turcotte, Kuzmenko, but then Perry and Armia both have to play.
And Warren Fogel's in that.
I completely just forgot about Warren Fogel. Yeah, so I mean, it's just like, to Jim Hiller's quote, there are more guys than spots.
Mm-hmm.
And I genuinely have no idea. And it's funny, the first day they practiced, or maybe it was the second day, I asked Jim Hiller if he had any concrete idea of where Armia would slot in. And he, at the time, said no.
You did, yep.
But then today stated that he had a pretty good sense of what the lineup, I asked him, are we treating this like a mini camp where guys are fighting for spots?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you have a pretty good idea of who's in and who's not?
Yeah.
And he specifically said he wouldn't identify a player, but one guy has made a strong case to change his role. But that other than that, he pretty much had an idea.
Yeah.
And I think you and I agree that Armia, Perry will have spots. They are not fight. Like it comes down to sort of Fogel.
You look at practice and you can identify that Corey Perry will be in because he was on the top power play unit.
Right.
Andrei Kuzmenko will be in because he was with the second power play unit. And Joel Armia is going to be in. Jim Hiller has said he's going to be in. So that leaves one winger spot for Fogle, Ward, Malat.
Yep.
Turcotte and Hellenius, at least to start, I think will be. And we both agree that I think Joel Armia potentially could, maybe he factors in the middle. Or if the Byfield, Kopitar, Moreline doesn't work, you have a center you can move. Like, there are options. But I think to start, you're probably looking at those 5 guys are in based on circumstances we've observed. And then it's like, okay, Fogle, Malat, Ward, what do you want from that last spot? Which maybe makes the answer to your question, maybe.
Yeah.
Does it very, like, I personally would lean towards, like, well, I don't think Warren Fogel's had the year that he would have wanted or that was expected of him. He was a big piece last year. He shouldn't be a healthy scratch. He probably has earned another shot to come back in and state his case.
So here's the crazy thing about where the Kings are right now. At the trade deadline last year, you could say of Andrei Kuzmenko, he had not had the year that he would want to have
100%.
had, right? Like, there was a guy who was getting traded for the second time in one season.
For a mid-range pick, you know.
He was a guy who was a candidate to be like, oh, well, you know.
Whatever. Yeah.
Waive him, trade him, who cares? He gets traded to the Kings, and as far as regular season contribution goes, and please nobody come for me in the comments about Gaborik or Carter, just as far as regular season goes, arguably becomes the best trade deadline acquisition the Kings have ever made. Like,
dude transformed not only the forwards, but the power play. He transformed the team.
And that's the danger.
Crazy.
That's one of the dangers of front office work and coaching work, is that you have these guys who have not had the seasons they wanted, but have the ability to bring more.
Yeah.
And so, do you say, well, I'm sorry, it's 56 games into the season and you've disappointed, so therefore no? Or do you say, well, we know that there's more in you.
Yeah.
You've had 2.5 weeks to rest. It's a totally different team.
And we've seen those lines moved around in practice too. And there's still the Armia of it all, where we know he's going to be in on one of those 2 lines.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. It's like, I could take a guess of what I think it's going to look like, but I wouldn't, wager my paycheck on it.
No. Yeah. I mean, like I said, we're pretending this conversation is for the final 26 games. In reality, it's for the next 4 at most. The next question is, and again, no answer for this question. It's just a question. Will Laferriere finish the season as a center? I was very dismissive at the beginning of the season that he would be a realistic candidate at all. I have 100% had to eat crow. I thought he's performed incredibly well. Having said that, he's still not, like, when I say well, I mean by the bar of a winger playing center. Artemi Panarin is a guy who at his best is 100+ point scorer. He accomplished that with a center with loads more experience at center, not to mention, offensive ability than Alex Laferriere. If that line works, don't touch it.
Totally.
Right? Like, if Panarin comes in and is clipping away at a point per game and Kempe's rejuvenated, then, like, hands off.
Yep.
If it doesn't work, Laferriere is still an incredibly gifted player and has proven to have incredible chemistry on the wing with certain players that, like, never mind trying to fix that line, but he is an asset in and of himself to be used in a different configuration. So, I mean, there's no guarantee that he finishes as a center.
I agree. I think best case he does because it means that line worked, right? Sure. I probably think more highly of him as a center than you, and probably of most. Like, I don't think he even looks good for a winger. I think he looks good. Like, I think he has really good feel for that position.
I just mean he's not, like, on the team up to this point. I mean, and how many games do we think he played at center realistically? 20, 25?
Yeah, because he played those handful when Kopi was hurt at the beginning of the year, and then he stayed there for probably, 10 or 15. So, 20 to 25.
Ish. I just mean, like, as far as offensive production, and I generally shy away from judging success from a player just on offensive production. But given the role that he's been playing, and it's been difficult because Kopitar was out, and the line was like him, Perry, and Kempe for a while.
Yep.
And they were playing more of defensive role, and obviously the team plays defensive hockey. But even so, we're not talking about like 80 points.
But we are talking about the underlyings of when he has played center specifically. He gets to the slot very, very effectively and gets chances from that area.
Mhm.
Now his underlings are always good. Like even last year when he was in that
Which
massive
is why
drought,
he was the candidate and not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His underlings were still good. But he has even seen, I think, an uptick in that area playing center. Like he gets into that slot area well, which just like it's not on paper, but like that should mesh well with the Panarin.
Yeah.
So like I think he could be a center in the NHL personally, like longer than this year. I think he's a guy that could just be a center.
Well, like you
longer
said,
term.
the best case scenario is that
Yeah.
that line works.
Mhm.
And then next season, there's one funny thing that Jim Hiller said. I didn't even catch it the moment he said it, but talking about the move of Byfield to wing.
Mhm.
I only caught it on the second re-listen to the media availability. He said Quentin Byfield's a center and will be a center for this team,
Yes.
which talks about what you were talking about, which is the current roster we're looking at in practice right now is not about
Mhm.
next year or
Yep.
or the year after that or whatever. It's about today.
It's a coach who knows he needs
Yeah.
to make the playoffs, and it's a GM who knows
Yeah.
he needs to like these. The Kings need to make the playoffs, this
Yeah.
year.
So, I mean,
And-
there is a very real possibility that Laferriere could just have that could be it. He could have been drafted as a winger and become a center,
Yeah.
which is rare for this organization because frequently they draft centers and then convert
Yeah.
them to wingers. So,
Rare even like around the league,
Yeah,
like you don't
it's true,
see
yeah.
it all that often.
Mhm.
But look, like it's probably you want to see probably the Kings in the summer. They have to bring someone in at center, but like I don't know, maybe it's Bizarro. Maybe like if you have Kempe, Fiala, and Panarin as your top three wingers, that's
Yeah.
among the best in the NHL. If your best addition is a winger, and you say, you know what, we're gonna excel on the wings, and Byfield and Laferriere are going to be our centers. I don't know. It's not ideal, but if you can't find a true center
yeah. Well,
who's
so
better than those guys,
the funny thing is that Panarin operates in the offensive zone the way that any center, like
That's a good point,
you're
yeah.
not going to find a center who racks up 100 points a year, 2
Yeah.
assists to 1 goal.
Mhm. It doesn't exist.
Whenever they say
right?
like, "Oh, this type of player isn't frequently available,"
Yeah.
that kind of center actually never is.
yeah,
Like
right.
that doesn't happen.
Who's the last one? Who's like of that caliber? Like Jack Eichel, 5 years ago.
Sure, with a
With
with
a
a medical
with a neck injury,
issue
like-
and you know, so it's
Yeah.
not that they're never available. It's just very difficult. So I wouldn't
Very
expect.
rarely.
So from that perspective, yeah, Panarin becomes the offensive zone center acquisition, and then all you need out of your center is sort of
Alex Laferriere
Barry
is a
Puck's-
shoot first center.
yeah,
you know, like,
Barry pucks when they get to you and
Yeah.
play smart in the defensive zone, which
Yeah.
he can do.
yeah,
The next question then we're going to shift to is special teams because with Drew Doughty out, it already is complicated, but we've
Yeah.
seen Clark and Panarin kind of never leave the ice.
Yeah.
The rare occasion that they've worked on the
Mhm.
power play over the 4 practices that we've seen.
hmm
I wouldn't think that they would put those guys out for every second of power play time.
yeah,
But they need to win, and Artemi Panarin on the power play is about as dangerous a weapon as this team has.
yeah.
So
2 things I would say on that.
Mhm.
One, I don't know. Jim Hiller said today, don't be surprised if Panarin sees
Yeah.
time on both units.
Mhm.
And 2, he did it with Kevin Fiala.
Yep.
It was midway through last year. It was a similar
Mhm.
situation, right? Power play was struggling. He said, this is my guy who's going. I'm going to play him the whole time. Panarin's not killing penalties.
Yeah.
Andre Kopitar's jokes aside. He's probably not taking on the difficult 5-on-5 matchups
Yeah.
the most, right? Like he's not being used to match up. He's
Yeah.
gonna be put in offensive situations. He's gonna be put on the ice after the Kings kill a penalty.
Right.
Playing him the full 2 on the power play, I don't think he's a guy who exerts unnecessary energy on the ice.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's a guy
that's part
who-
of his game. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't have a problem with it. The only reason not to do it with Clark is like I want Clark in 5-on-5 situations
Mhm.
as well. Like I want him used more. So if that, makes him too tired and he has to skip it, like is it worth it for him? It's worth it to me for Panarin.
So when we spoke to Clark after, was it day 3 practice?
Mm-hmm.
He was asked about playing with Panarin on the power play, and he said that Panarin came to him and said, don't defer to me too much. If you have an opportunity, take it.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, interesting. I wonder if that applies to coaching staff as well. So I sort of tried to flip
Yeah.
that question and ask Jim Hiller, expecting Jim Hiller to say, team game.
Yeah.
We'll use whatever. And Jim Miller was like, no, we'll lean on him as much as we can. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah,
and then said too what Panarin said. He referenced that as well. Yeah.
So I wouldn't be completely shocked if Panarin plays maybe not every minute, but 95%
is an active part of both.
Yeah, like if the power play is 5 seconds left and there's a face-off, okay, fine.
You take him out.
Yeah, but
this is a test too for Jim Hiller. He hasn't had a guy like this.
Yeah,
where he can't just play the Kings system and be himself, right? Like Panarin has to be allowed to color outside the lines, and I think it's on the staff to put him in positions to do that. Like he has to be allowed to play his game. He has to be allowed to create and hold on to pucks and turn a puck over and not get punished for it. And like
I was going to say, I was just thinking, there's no healthy scratching Artemi Panarin even if it costs a game.
Yeah, he has to turn the puck over 4 times and be allowed on the 5th time to make the play that he's capable of making. Right, this is a unique player who has to be given that freedom to play his game. Everyone is saying that he will, but obviously, like, proof will be in the pudding. But this is a kind of a test, I think, for those guys. Like they haven't had a guy like this.
And if you believe in the influence of players in the league, Panarin said that he talked to Gavrikov, and Gavrikov sold him on the concept of the Kings.
Yeah.
Because Panarin is so unique and is so talented, you don't want him saying to other teams, like, I came here, I thought it was going to be great.
Yeah.
I turned the puck over, and then I was healthy scratch. Like, you want him to say, they treat you wonderful, they pick you up from the air, like all the off-the-ice stuff. Things, and then on top of that,
I was allowed to be me on the ice.
I'm, encouraged and advocated to do all that. So that's, and then the penalty kill, I'll just say it has to get better.
It has to get better. Yeah. And there's no Artemi Panarin coming in to change potentially the penalty kill. Like both units,
unless at the trade deadline they go out and get one of those players rumored.
Sure.
That improves the penalty kill, but
the power play, I think, kind of needed this.
Yeah.
I actually think that the pieces are there for the penalty kill.
Absolutely.
I think that they have the guys they need. They just have to. It has to be executed better. Yeah. And like the Kings can't be bottom 10 in both special teams. And be like they just don't.
Yeah.
They don't score enough goals 5-on-5 to succeed that way. Like they have to get better.
The next question is, and this one's finally a little bit of a ray of sunshine in the conversations. When will Anze Kopitar pass Marcel Dion to become the all-time leading scorer in LA Kings history? I believe he's 8 points off the mark at this point.
He's either 8 off from leading or I think he's 7 to tie 8 to pull ahead,
like
or 8 and 9.
I'm assuming at this point that it will happen.
Yeah,
there's 26 games left.
Barring full health, I think
it's Anze Kopitar. Like it's not. Oh, he's got to get 25 points in 26 games.
Right.
Nail biting. Like, oh, it'll be really fascinating. Like it's 8 points.
It's 8 points.
Like he could get 3 in one night. Just all secondary assists just by coincidence. And with Artemi Panarin out there on the power play, who knows how often he'll get to play with Kopitar on the power play? But the opportunities are there. So, middle of March. Feels
about right. Yeah. Like I think
late March. I don't know.
I thought his last game before the break was his best game. I thought he looked pretty good in the Vegas game, in a game where not a ton of guys did. Thought he played pretty well there. So if that's a sign of things to come, and Kopi's gonna, he's kind of back from his injury finally, where he had this time to ramp back up and to get healthy and do all of his stuff. Like you feel pretty confident he's going to get that mark, and you know what? It's going to be pretty special when he does, right?
Yeah, he's currently sitting at 1,300.
Yeah.
And Dion has 1,307. So, it's 7 to tie, 8 to pass.
In 26 games.
It's
going to happen.
Obviously doable.
Yeah.
I would be very disappointed if it didn't.
Same.
So, we'll just have to wait and see. And obviously, it'll be a tremendous moment when it does happen. The next question, and this one I have said, if this were a different market, this would be a louder conversation. Because the next question is, who's going to be the starter for the push?
Yeah.
Because the obvious answer is Darcy Kemper.
Yeah.
But Anton Forsberg has been playing really well over the last month, 2 months.
I agree.
And on the season has substantially better numbers.
Yeah.
And this is another test of the coaching staff, because if to use Jim Hiller's thing, if we were starting at 0 coming out of this Olympic break, I would be less concerned about the question.
Yeah.
But they are coming from behind, and you kind of can't worry about people's feelings right now. And Jim Hiller has said to us in different times in previous seasons that he doesn't care, right? That he
Mm-hmm.
does what he wants to do, and he's not necessarily concerned with what the players ask or tell him that they would prefer. So I'll be very curious. And Daryl Evans asked him today,
Yep.
and he wouldn't tell us who it was, but he
Yeah.
said he knew.
Yeah.
Although I thought it was very odd, and I don't know if he was kidding. Maybe I just didn't catch the joke. But he said he knew who he was starting in game 1,
Yep.
but wasn't sure in game 2.
Right.
But it's back-to-backs. So, I mean, my assumption would be that it's whoever doesn't start in game 1 is starting in game 2, but he has started.
What I took from that
Yeah.
was he has yet to see the whites of Darcy Kemper's eyes.
Sure.
Like, what's he coming? Is he ready to just
Yeah.
jump? My takeaway was like Forsberg starting against Vegas.
I would think so, yeah.
And maybe he's going back to back depending on where Darcy's
Mm-hmm.
at. But also, I thought the same as you. Like, one probably plays both.
You would think so. Although, I mean,
Forsberg did it that one time and was
was
really
excellent.
good,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
and I don't, this is one of those conversations that I simply don't have an opinion about, but I know that a lot of people do. If you're playing two opponents, now it's tough because Vegas and Edmonton are about neck and neck as
They're
far as
both
difficulty.
really good, yeah.
But if you were playing back-to-back opponents and one were very clearly harder than the other,
Yeah.
if you were playing Colorado on night 1
Mhm.
and the Rangers on night 2,
Yeah.
there are some people who say, "Oh, play your better goalie against the weaker opponent
Mhm.
and get your guaranteed
Make sure
2
you get your
points."
2 points.
And then
yeah.
there are other people who say, "No, play your better goalie against the tougher opponent."
Yeah.
I don't care,
Yeah.
but I am aware that there are, and I know some people who have very passionate opinions about this. I happen to not.
Yeah.
And I don't even know who you would argue is the tougher opponent out of Edmonton and Vegas. They've
Yeah.
so many of their players.
Edmonton's
were
the
involved
most
in the Olympics.
the more important game.
Yes,
No doubt, right?
And but I mean, with Vegas, who knows? They might have 3 or 4 guys out of the lineup.
Jack Eichel and Noah
Yeah.
Hannafin are in Washington today,
Yeah.
right? Like, so they're going to be here tomorrow. Are they playing? I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
they're not on this time zone.
Yeah, and Logan, I don't know, or like, Logan Thompson's not in Vegas anymore, but
He's not, nor is he on Team USA.
Yeah,
But,
you are right. But I mean, so even Darcy Kemper, right? Like, didn't play in the Olympics,
Mhm.
was a little bit banged up
Yeah.
earlier in the season. Does 2.5 weeks of, I don't know how Team USA or Team Canada, practiced. I don't
Yeah.
know how much,
How hard?
how
right?
many shots
Yeah.
he got to see.
Mhm.
I don't know if he even touched ice. I know he was out there. I know he was in his pads and
Yeah.
uniform for the medal ceremony.
Yeah.
After that, I don't know.
Who knows?
So
Yeah.
Forsberg's been practicing.
Yep.
So Rust. I don't know, but like I said, if this were Toronto,
Yep.
I feel like it would be a much louder conversation.
So Darcy's season has been interesting to
Mhm.
where he was last year's level until the Dallas game,
Yeah.
where, Rantanen runs him over. He's out for a while. His numbers never recovered after that.
Yeah.
Like until that point, if you look at the splits, he was fine to start the year. Then he got hurt for a couple games.
Mhm.
When he came back from that injury, he was Vezina level from that first injury to the second injury. And then once he came back the second time, Forsberg has been better in net.
And I should correct myself. I think I said that Forsberg has been substantially better. I'm looking at it right now. It's not as far apart as I thought it was. It's a 2.57 for Forsberg, 2.59 for Kemper, which is
Right.
negligible.
Yeah.
And then a 907 save percentage to 900 for Kemper. I got it in my head that Kemper had fallen significantly
Yeah,
under
it's
900.
barely
It's
level.
pretty close. It's just the last month, really.
The last month and Forsberg had a rough start, but
Yeah.
he's really responded. So I think for me, it comes down to which Darcy Kemper comes back. Because if he's the Darcy Kemper that the Kings had in November into December, he's the guy, unquestioned, right? Like that's a very, very high caliber goaltender. And I think he gets a couple games to show that. But if Forsberg comes out and shuts out the Golden Knights and then, the Kings lose with Kemper, I think you have to make the argument that when the Kings need these games, like maybe you go with the hotter hand, and that right now is Anton Forsberg coming into the break.
I must have been looking at the last month. So from January 1st, Kemper is 4-5-3 with an 8.69 save percentage and a 3.3 goals against. Forsberg is 3-1-2 with a 920 save percentage and a 2.27.
That's a disparity.
Yeah, but again, that's since January 1st. So,
Yeah.
But that's where we are, right? Like that's
Like we said, the Kings
Kings
are
need to
playing
win.
from behind.
Yeah.
They need to win games. And I think it comes down to, if Darcy Kemper comes back the way that he played earlier in the year and how he played last year, like he's going to get the lion's share of the starts.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, you have to be, the Kings can't afford to not make an uncomfortable decision if it mean in that area, right? They just can't. So it's going to it's the first 5 games, right? You talk with the deadline. It's like, how do they go? And you got to adjust quickly if it doesn't work.
And that brings us to the final question, which is what do the Kings have to do to make the playoffs? And, you and I were sort of chuckling at a question somebody in the media pool asked, they said like, the Kings need to get better 5-on-5 and special teams. Is it as simple as that? And I was like, well, yeah, that's
what
all,
else
that's
is there?
all there is. But I mean, that's the simplest answer is the Kings have to win games and they have to get a little bit lucky as far as Pacific Division opponents losing games. Like, unfortunately, the Kings have put themselves in a spot where it's not entirely up to them.
Right.
Which stinks. Whether it's officials late in a game or a season where, just cast back into the past, the 2014-15 season, I think it was, Kings had won the Stanley Cup the previous year. And down the stretch that year, Kings fans were, I fell for it. We were like genuinely concerned that teams were throwing games just to keep the Kings out of the playoffs. Because it was like February, March, and April. It'd be an East Coast team.
And obviously that was not the case.
No, of course not. But it was just like every night the wrong team won.
Yeah.
To keep the Kings out of the playoffs. And you're just like, it can't, like Calgary, Vancouver, they would lose games until the part where they need, and so the Kings need Seattle, the Ducks, Utah, Edmonton. Like I've sort of given up on Vegas, on passing Vegas. It could happen, but I'm not holding my breath.
If that is in play, it means that good things are happening for the Kings.
But I mean, simple answer is they need to score more goals.
Yeah.
They need to tighten up the goaltending. Because I don't even think, like, every time I look at the numbers, and I think you probably have the same experience, every time I look at the numbers, the Kings are still top, at least 10, if not top 5, in limiting chances, limiting high danger chances, limiting shots. Like, their quality of play, I don't think, has necessarily dipped. It's just special teams have faltered.
Yep.
And they're not getting Vezina level goaltending that they did last year. And I mean, that's the simplest answer.
And they're not getting the post-deadline scoring that they got last year.
Well, maybe. We don't know yet. But
well, they haven't gotten it till this point.
Yes.
Yeah. They have that hasn't translated or carried over. It's like there's 26 games left. The Kings have 60 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have to go out and they have to win 15, 16 of those games, 17 to feel really good about getting in. Like, I don't think this is a year where 100 points is needed, but I don't know if 90 is going to get you in. That's such a low number.
Yeah.
Right. And if it is, that's going to be very nerve-wracking. So you win 15 of 26, that gets you to 90, depending on overtime losses, which it's the Kings. They're probably going to play a lot of overtime games, but you got to win a lot. You got to win a lot more of these games than they have till this point. How do they do that? There's a lot of ways that they could do that, but the bottom line is at this point, like, they have to just go out there and win games. Like, they have to win games at home, which they haven't done. They have to beat teams below them in the standings, which has been a problem. Like, you have 6 left against Calgary, Vancouver. 6. Like, that's a lot of games. That's 12 points.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go 3-3 in those games. And a lot of those games are at home. Like, the Kings have to improve at home. They have to do things that they haven't done until this point. Because the playoffs are extremely attainable, like extremely.
Yeah. Well, they're 3 points out,
and winning 16 of 26 is not even that hard. Like, it's really not that big of an ask.
Yeah.
That's not 700 hockey. That's well below that. So, like, they have to go out and they have to do some things they haven't done until this point, and there's not a ton of time to waste in getting to that point.
No, and they have an easy schedule.
And that could be good or bad.
It could be good or bad. So the real,
on paper, though, you're right.
It's a double-edged sword because they don't have a lot of 4-point games, meaning like they don't play the Ducks again.
Right.
They don't play Seattle again. Mm-hmm. They play Utah twice.
Yeah.
But who knows what the standing,
and part of the position, part of the reason
I take that back. They do play Seattle one more time.
They have Seattle one more. But part of the reason they're in the position they're in is because the Kings have lost to those teams.
Yeah.
Like, they've lost against Anaheim, I think 3 of 4. I don't believe they've beaten Seattle this year. I think they're 0-3. those are the teams in front of you, and those are the points they've dropped, right? San Jose, I think they've lost 2 of 3. Like those are the points that they've dropped, is those teams right around them.
Just in March, so they start out with Colorado in March, which is a Western Conference opponent.
Yeah.
But let's face it, Colorado, you're not catching Colorado.
Colorado's a
doesn't
wagon.
factor into your playoff math, right?
It's not a 4-point.
It might as well be an East Coast team.
Yep.
Then they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games in a row against the Eastern
That's
Conference
crazy, huh?
teams.
That's crazy.
I'm not proposing that would never propose that the Kings lose a game, but if you randomly, because 2 of those there's 2 back-to-backs. They play Columbus on the 9th, Boston on the 10th.
The rescheduled game.
And then the Islanders on the 13th and the Devils on the 14th. That's a tough week with travel mixed in.
It is, I would say, and this is a small thing, but like they're among the easier back-to-backs you'll get because Islanders, Devils, you don't fly. And the Columbus game is at 4.
Right.
Since it was rescheduled. So you don't get in at 2 a.m.
Right. But if you slip and lose, like let's say one of those games is close and you give up a late goal to lose it, there is a bit of a softening of the blow because it's like, all right, well, it's an East Coast team.
It wasn't losing to the Kraken or the Ducks like has happened, right?
Yeah. Or those last 2 games before the Olympic break, which were just back. I mean, hope they weren't backbreakers yet, but if they wind up missing the playoffs by like 2 points,
you look at those.
You can look at those 2 games and go, oh, come on.
Yep.
So they have a ton of games against Eastern. So after that 9-game stretch, that's when they play then Utah twice in the next week, and then you again Calgary and Vancouver, like you mentioned, all those games. And then down the stretch, Edmonton, Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary. So you have those 2 opponents. Now, hopefully the Kings will have passed at least one of those teams.
You'd hope, yeah.
By then, but
there's a lot of games against teams they aren't trying to pass, huh? Like
there are.
And I haven't looked at the other teams. Like what does Seattle have? What is it? But the Kings don't have a ton of those kind of games.
I just know that they have an easy schedule, and I know that they're still a plus 50% to make the playoffs on moneypuck.com, which is not.
And that's one of the lower ones.
Yeah.
I've seen like an 80.
Yeah, I mean, people still believe that they will make the playoffs. And certainly, I mean, and that's the thing. Panarin needs to be Panarin right away. We can't be having a conversation after the Calgary game where the coach is saying, well, you got to give credit to the other team, and it takes time for things to gel. Like, we can't.
There's no margin for error on the giving credit to other teams.
If you're going to make the playoffs, you got to start winning, and you got to start winning a lot. So hopefully that's what we'll see, and hopefully Artemi Panarin is the player that he has been, and Andrei Kopitar passes Marcel Dion in total points. The Olympic players come back. I mean, the best case scenario is the Olympic players come back rested, revitalized, rejuvenated from that experience. They come back in, the guys, Warren Fogle, Andrei Kuzmenko, the guys that have had 3.5 weeks of rest. They come out of the gate, all cylinders firing, and this team turns into the team it was after the trade deadline last year.
That's what needs to happen, right?
Yep, that's it. Thanks for joining us, Kings fans. Thanks for joining me, Zach, and we'll talk to you soon.